Hey Peter, thank you for coming in today, and I'm going to keep this one pretty short and sweet because I think you'll remember most of what we worked on. I'm doing this in a strange spot for a reason you'll see in just a minute. As far as the setup pieces that we went over, we just want to make sure we don't have the hips pushed back behind the heels too much. And so the very first thing we worked on was feeling like your hip joints, the center of your hip joint can be over your heels, but we really don't want it any further back than that. So if you kind of dangle a club or something there and sit into your knee flex just a hair, and then your rear end will naturally go out just a little bit as you grab the golf club. And you know, the old tried and true kind of adage about distance from the golf ball is if you feel like your pressure is a little bit toward the balls of your feet, and if your right hand is on the club and you allow it to swing free, it should more or less swing straight back from where it was on the grip. So rather than if I were too close to it here and I let it swing free, it would go here. And that's kind of where you were, right? I would say butt back, hands real close, and I let my right arm swing free and it's here, but it's here at address. So that's kind of why your takeaway likes to go that way, I think. So if we fix it, we go a little bit of sag into the knees. You can let your back round a little bit, let your arms hang. Right arm swings back away from the grip in a natural hanging attitude, and that's about the correct distance from the golf ball. So that's number one. Number two, we did turns and tilts. So this is why I'm over here, and hopefully this thing will stay put, but I've got an exercise band looped around the bottom of my table. And a really good way to envision the backswing turn and tilt is if I get the band right about where a golf ball would be. It's maybe a little bit further away, but close enough. And I get into my posture. Now I'm gonna stretch the right side of this band as I go back. And you can just feel what your body does. And so my shoulders are tilting, my hips are tilting also. So my right side's pulling back and my rear end's working around toward the center of my stance, like we talked about. Boom. This works for the downswing as well. Transition, impact. So, but really I want you to focus more on the backswing right at the moment. And so you could get a band and loop it around something that stays put, or you could just sort of do this and mimic this feeling where, there we go, right shoulder up and around, right hip up and around. This leg gives a little bit, so it's tugged towards straight, and the left knee flexes more and moves down slightly. So that's just by virtue of this tilting and turning, or the spiral staircase as Pete Cowan calls it. So everything's moving on angles as you turn and tilt. Previously, you had not much turn as we saw in the hips, coupled with a little sit, and your hips stayed super level, so did your knees. So that made your shoulders want to turn more level. And so I kind of find that when the hips and legs work correctly on the backswing, the shoulders kind of like to turn more or less on the correct angle or with enough tilt. But if the hips and legs want to stay more level, it's very difficult to get your shoulders to tilt correctly. They'll want to turn real flat. And it's a problem on the downswing because, as I said, we're not in a position to hit a ball that's down on the ground. We're in a position to hit a ball that's knee high or waist high. So for right now, posture to dress, turns and tilts. And you can do this without an exercise band if you just take both arms and put them down like this and imagine you're starting a lawnmower, and just, this is not what your arms do in the golf swing. This is just to get a feeling for what the pivot's like. So I'm starting a lawnmower and my body goes this way. Kind of feels like everything's on a 45. So that's what to think about for right now. And great start, and we'll dress it up a little bit as we go. Talk to you later, Peter.